Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of TMS, or The Match Show. And I'm joined today by Fred Ramey, a.k.a. Fred the Trucker. Fred, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear, because right now I have the pleasure of introducing a very special guest, Marcellus Wiley. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you being with us here today.
Oh, man, appreciate you guys. Thanks for the invite, man. Big fans. You guys kept me going when Yank was out there, brother.
That's what we like to hear. You've got quite the resume. Columbia grad, 10-year career in the NFL, Pro Bowl selection, 10 years now as a sports analyst, 1988 national typewriting champion, proud member of the Yang Gang, as you just said, writing and publishing your own book, and then you also just welcomed a new child into the world, so congratulations.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you.
And can you share with us, for those who may be a little more unfamiliar with you, just share with us a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Yeah, beyond Wikipedia, I'm a Los Angeles native, born and raised in LA, so it's good to be Angelino. And grew up in Compton, harsh environment, raised there and in South Central. For those familiar with LA, off Slauson, back in the day, Slauson, Crenshaw, Overhill area. It was tough. It was diverse. We had to deal with all the stuff that ended up coming out of movies and NWA songs. All that stuff was a reality for me growing up. Before I could even look up and know which way was up, it just seemed like there was so much adversity in my community, whether it was the gangs, the drugs, the poverty. But I think the thing that really struck me the most was the low ambition. I just saw a lot of people who had been defeated, it seemed like, in life in terms of achieving their goals. And people are just living day to day trying to make it happen. And that was a song I never wanted to sing. And I was thankful to have my mother, my father, my grandparents, my sister, real people that I respected that could show me the way, but also show me the ropes. And sometimes through their own issues or failures, help navigate me to a better place. So I kind of just used all of my experiences, all of my resources, and did my own mathematics and computation to come up with a different formula for success.
Fantastic. And I think you touched a lot on that in your book, Never Shut Up, The Life, Opinions, and Unexpected Adventures of an NFL Outlier. The book dives very deeply into your life. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you discuss in your book and kind of what the inspiration is for it?
Yeah, it's really about your essence to never shut up. It's not necessarily literally your mouth. It's more of your spirit, whoever you want to display to this world. And I'm going deeper than the layers that are socialized, the layer that you're told to be a certain thing or a certain person. I'm talking about what you wake up thinking you are and who you want to be. And never shut up in that pursuit. Never shut up in that dying desire to display that to the world, in essence. And we've all been there where there's this thing that you think of in imagination, but you just don't know how to plant the seed in reality, or how to sit there and fertilize that ground and actually water it and watch it grow. So a lot of times people look at successful people as people from out of this world or some golden yellow brick road to success. But it's certainly a ride, a journey, a roller coaster, and it's full of failures. But to just really buy into yourself and buy into the confidence you need to do anything in this world. And even those who are successful had to take their lumps. So it's really just an inspirational book to tell everyone inside that voice, that conversation you're having, to display it to the world. Never shut up.
I agree in terms of the inspiration of your book. And so on Twitter, I go by Fred the Felon because I coach addicts and felons. And so one of the big reasons I wanted to have you, invite you on and reached out to Tiki is because in the beginning of your book, there was a story. It's just a monster story. It's unbelievable. Tell people the story at home about the walk home and the issue that you and your sister had, and then you going to your grandmother's house, being in the backyard, she could tell something was wrong, and she got a piece of paper out and told you to write 3 things about yourself. And I really believe, maybe you don't realize this, maybe somebody who doesn't read your book realize this, but I really think that particular moment was a turning point, or could have been a turning point in your life, about that piece of paper that grandma had you grab and write some things out. Could you set the stage for us, please?
Yes, appreciate that you took such interest in that story, man. It certainly changed my life and my perspective. And at a young age, when this occurred, we're in grade school, 3rd, 4th grade, it may be something of that nature. My sister, she was no punk. I can raise my hand and say I was a punk. I can easily walk away from a fight and walk away with my head held high. Like, yeah, I walked away. I'm strong. Actually, I'm scared to fight. So it worked perfectly for me, but not my sister. She was always there for the fight. And some boys were picking on me, and she used to always handle those situations. Now, to this story in the book, it's interesting that this story is about identity. So there was a girl who didn't like my sister, and they got into it, and then she calls her big brothers to bully us every single day. And I think he did it, him and his friend, for like a month. I mean, these were gangsters. One of them ended up dying, another one death row. So like they turned into being exactly who they were to us, which was bullying us and really just messing us up every single day. My grandmother caught wind of that. My sister never wanted to back down, never wanted to take a detour, never wanted to go a different direction. She wanted to walk through that fire every single day. And we did, because that's my sister. I had to go with her. And we took our lumps every single day, getting beat up by these guys, getting punched in the chest, at that young age. My grandmother says, okay, I want you to go get a piece of paper, and I want you to write on the top of it your name. So I write Marcellus Vernon Wiley. And she said, write 3 things that you are. And I said, okay, I'm gonna write, I'm smart. She said, why are you smart? I say, because I get all A's and B's in my classes, and I'm on the academic decathlon, and I like school. She said, all right, you're smart. Marcellus Vernon Wiley, smart. What else? I said, athletic. She says, why athletic? I said, because I can beat everybody at school running, and I love to just compete. I love sports. She said, okay, you're smart and athletic. Marcellus Vernon Wiley. What's the 3rd thing? And I wrote down, after thinking about that one, I said, I'm nice. And she says, why are you nice? I'm like, Grandma, because I like everyone. And even the guys that are hitting us, or the people I don't like, that don't like me, I'm not mad at them. And she said, okay, Marcellus Vernon Wiley, smart, athletic, nice. Now fold that piece of paper up, baby. Put it under your bed. And forever in your life, if someone calls you by these words, your name, or something in this likeness, you can listen to them. If they call you anything else, and I was being called a nerd, a punk, all kinds of derogatory words, she says, they call you anything else that's not on this piece of paper, you pay them no mind. So from that point forward, me, a fork in the road kid, knew which direction to go. And I knew how when people came to me and tried to offer me different things or take me in different directions, I will always go back to that mindset of what that piece of paper illustrated. And if it wasn't in that likeness, in that image, in something that good, if it wasn't something to make me feel like, okay, academics, smarts, athletics, or if it wasn't something about my personality and try to make me feel better, anything else, I discarded of it. And it really helped me crystallize my environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you at home, like I use this story a lot. Like I sponsor people. Many of the people in the Yang Gang know that I'm an addict in recovery. I have 14 years clean. And so, Yang Gang.
I love that.
Right?
Always,
So
always.
I have 14 years clean, and I use this story because this is something that we do as addicts and felons. When we work the steps, we go through our assets and our liabilities, and then we can always draw back on those assets, much like you were talking about, for years and years and years, you went back to that piece of paper that your grandmother brought to you. So I just thought, out of your whole book, just that one story was so incredibly inspirational. And maybe you didn't know it at the time, but that was probably one of the most life-changing parts of your young life.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. In the moment, you don't understand the gravity of it. Obviously, I'm too young, but it certainly started me on this road of understanding how everything is an exchange. Going back to school when they told you energy can't be created or destroyed, just exchanged. And I started to realize that, like, I'm not creating these situations in my neighborhood or in my family. And I'm not going to get rid of them by going out there and preaching and telling everyone this and that and trying to be righteous. It's just about understanding I'm giving them something and they're giving me something to make sure that I'm receiving exactly what I want or continue on my journey to get exactly what I wanted. Because too many people around me were taking shortcuts or detours or just stopping the race because they wanted to cash out based on all the things that they were getting in that moment. And I had a long-term scope to look deeper and look further down the road than just the immediate.
In your book, you title yourself as an outlier. Do you still feel like you're an outlier politically or otherwise, or in your career or anything like that?
I would say outlier, not necessarily emphasis on how unique I am, even though I think we're all unique. So I think that's redundant. I think that it was the way that I was able to achieve my success. I did it a different way, whether it's making it to the NFL, but going to an Ivy League school, and not just any Ivy League school, the worst football program at the time in the Ivy Leagues and basically in the country, actually, after losing 44 games in a losing streak. So a lot of people didn't see that I was actually going to become who I became. So it was a unique experience in terms of the road traveled. Coming from Compton to go to Columbia was a unique experience in terms of not too many people traveled that road. So I guess I'm just a guy who will volunteer for the road less traveled and find my way.
And after you retired from football, you moved on to ESPN. How did you transition from being on the field to being behind the mic?
Yeah, I had great relationships. I think it all started coming from a small school. Then you get into the NFL, big business, NFL. I wasn't jaded. I wasn't tired of big football, big business football, like a lot of my teammates were. Think about it. If you go to a football factory, you've just been inundated and flooded with football for your whole entire career and life and your time at the school, that it kind of takes some of the joy away from it. They had to deal with bigger budgets, so more politics and a lot more BS in terms of big football versus at my school. Every guy on the team was like, this is PE. This is a 6-period elective. Like, we know we're not going to the pros. We're just have fun while we're here, and then that's it. And I think I walked in with a fresher energy and a greater spirit for just everything that came with being in the NFL. So because of those relationships, and I was candid with reporters, I was telling the truth. I didn't give PC answers. I just had a great relationship with the reporter, the person, not just the journalist who was doing his job. And when it was time for me to hang up the cleats, I had all those relationships, all that human capital out there, and they came and calling for me to continue that conversation of going out there and deciphering what the game was on and off the field for the masses. And that's basically what I've been doing all the way since 2007. It's just basically deciphering what happens in the huddle, what happens on the field, what happens in sports by the player and by the person.
And after leaving ESPN, rather, you're now the co-host of Speak For Yourself on Fox Sports 1. Are there any differences between the two networks? Any likes or dislikes about either one? Like why did you decide to move from one to the other? Like, what are the differences between the two?
Well, the reason I moved, it's several reasons, but look, I got paid twice as much to do half the work. So that was an easy formula. That was easy equation.
Do the math on that one.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Where's my math hat, speaking of that? But beyond that, they're two different shops. Fox is a much smaller unit, smaller setup in the FS1 than it was at ESPN. So I guess the greatest example for me is In-N-Out Burger versus McDonald's in terms of there are fewer In-N-Outs and they're only regional, right? It's like there's a few of them, but they're more of a gourmet kind of burger if you want to say fast food. It's like, this is going to taste amazing because we only have so few of them and we're going to make sure that they're amazing. ESPN was a little different because they're like McDonald's. They're everywhere. And I don't care what you say about McDonald's. We've all had it and we like it. And we're like, you can say what you want. Oh, it's not the best burger. Yeah, why you eating a Big Mac again? You know, it's one of those things. So at ESPN, we were so big. We were everywhere. No matter what you did, you had the distribution. So I love that. I can't say one is better than the other because for me, I like being at Fox because I feel like I'm on a basketball team. Like there's only a couple of us around here. But then at ESPN, I was on a football team. There was a lot of us. But guess what? We whooped that ass. Like, you know, it was a great situation as well. So it's all unique. Neither place, there's this mandate, this culture, this person sitting there telling you what to say or not say. So I felt the freedom to be myself at both places. It's just more of how people receive you.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you end up working with Jason Whitlock? How did you how did that come all to fruition?
I've known the Whitlock for many years. He used to come on our show actually at ESPN, Max and Marcellus, our radio show, and we always had a great fondness of him because he's an original thinker, a critical thinker, and he's brave. He's courageous in what he says, whether you agree or not. And I like that. If you think about where our world is today, how people consume media, I'm not in this for likability. I'm in this to let you know how I see things through this lens as a personality. And I want to give you the information, but also educate you and entertain you all in that sandwich. That's it. If you like my opinion or you don't like my opinion, I don't hold you in higher regard or lower regard. I think a lot of people think that if you say, oh, I love you, Marcellus, because you say everything I agree with, I don't take that to heart. Because there's going to be a day you're going to disagree with me because I'm unique, you're unique, and we're not going to agree on everything. So Jason has that mindset, and I like that. No matter where his opinions may go, I like someone that in their engine, they're just doing it out of the respect that they have for the work, not so much to make everyone like them or be pleased by what they say. So we just started to work. He came over to the house one day and recruited me. It felt like I was in high school or something, like a college coach showed up. And we just started talking. I've always had a relationship with him, so it was good that we continued to talk. We got deeper and deeper. I give him tremendous credit because Jason not only does the talent portion, but he's really heavy into the back end, the production elements, and a show's tone and structure. I'm not so much into that. I raised my hand only to give you an answer to a question. Everything else, I let people who are better employed and in a different tax bracket go handle those situations. So we have a good mesh, man. We both want the same things. We just approach it differently, and I like it that way.
Yeah, and I think that dynamic really comes across on the show. And I've asked this one question. One of your frequent guests now on Fox Sports 1 is TJ Hushmanzada. And have you figured out how to spell Hushmanzada yet?
I take a crack. HOUSHMANZADEH.
Yeah, had it one letter off, I think. Left out the D in Manzada.
Manzada. Oh my goodness.
So on that note, we wanted to know, what do you do when you're trying to broadcast something and you run across a Hushmanzada, like and you're like, oh, what do I like? How do you bridge that?
Yeah, man, I'm so comfortable with my skin. Guess what I do? I just skip it. Like right now, if I have to say Tua, his last name, I just say Tua. People, I'm not going to be the guy that struggles through that. Giannis, I'm out.
What is it? Tungavaloa, right? Tungavaloa, I think it is.
I don't know, and I'm not going to go through the effort to mess it up. I'm not going to get it right. So why go through the entire process to mess it up? I say Tua, I say TJ, and I say Giannis or the Greek Freak. I'm out.
Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy to have. Instead of embarrassing yourself on the television and being turned into a meme on social media.
Right.
Crazy. One thing last week, of course, the NFL, they just had their 2020 draft, and despite being a virtual draft, it was still the highest rated draft ever. And but I think what we're interested is what was your own draft experience like with the Bills back in '97, and how do you think maybe that experience is different from players who just had their draft this time around 20 plus years later?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's bigger business. It's a bigger spectacle. So everything is just grander now. But even in '97, when I got drafted, a second round, which was still on the first day. So that's something different already. Now the first round is exclusive. It's by itself. That's it. That's Thursday night, prime time. And then you move on to Friday for the other rounds, second, third round, and latter rounds on Saturday. So for me, I went on the first day, but I went in the second round when they had more time between the picks, it felt like. So, brother, it took forever for them to get to me. And I was the 52nd pick. So if you think about it, we wake up 7, 8 in the morning. We have CNN, Sports Illustrated, media is at my house because they're like, this Ivy League dude is going to go potentially in the first round. Like they just didn't see that coming. So I had an apartment full of people. You got the hors d'oeuvres out, appetizers, food, drinks, everything. It's like 9 in the morning on the West Coast. And they just start going through the picks, Orlando Pace, all the way through all these guys. And no lie, it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I guess. And I still haven't gotten picked. They've been talking about me for like 4 hours because Chris Berman, who was a fellow Ivy Leaguer himself, not only is doing his job saying, hey, Marcellus needs to get picked, but more so he was rooting for me because he's an Ivy Leaguer. So I'm sitting there hearing my name before every selection that needed a DN and not hearing my name called by any of those teams. So that was torture. I look to the side. My dad is dozing off. He's and no lie, at one time, I don't know, like around pick 40, I dozed off, like just a little one of those. Hey, and everyone's trying to keep this balancing act between, hey, let's stay positive, optimistic, it's going to happen soon, and then the reality of, damn, how long is it going to take, dude? When you going to get picked? And so it was fun when it all occurred. I get the phone call, and there's the general manager, John Butler, late great general manager, big old burly voice. Hey, Marcellus, you ready to be a Buffalo Bill? I'm like, yeah. I never heard of him before, never knew of him, but he became my guy. But I was like, yeah. Then he's like, let me let you talk to your coach real quick. And then he put on a voice I did recognize, and I lost it. So then Marv Levy, another Ivy Leaguer, jumps on the phone. Hey, Marcellus. I'm like, yeah, whatever you want. You can have all the money. I'll play for free. Just come on, man. It was exciting, man. It was with the family and the friends. It took forever, but it was a dream come true.
And then you came into the Marv Levy era, but if I remember right, wasn't it you had another coach,
Wade Phillips?
Yeah, you had Wade Phillips the very next year, right?
Yeah, we had Marv, and then it went to Wade. Yep.
So how was the transition between, did they keep the same style defense, or did they move from 4-3 to 3-4, or like was there a different setup between the two defenses, or were you nervous? How does that go down?
Yeah, thankfully we kept the same defense all those years I was in Buffalo, 3-4 defense. So the one that Bruce Smith and Phil Hansen mastered that defensive end, I was able to learn from those guys. And when they finally departed, at least Bruce departed, I was able to take over, and I was familiar with the defense. But Wade Phillips was our defensive coordinator before, when Marv was the head coach, and then he became the head coach, and Ted Cottrell, who was our linebacker coach, became our defensive coordinator. So it was all one big family.
Okay.
Nervous? Hell yeah. Scared? Every emotion you can list, yes. Before every single game, it could start with you just reviewing your opponent. It could be a formidable opponent. It could be a weak opponent. But remember, in the NFL, there are no plays off and no days off. Like, every single player is a black belt in football. It's just what degree black belt is he. They all will whoop you down, all of them. And they all can be taken if you are the one for it. So I think it's just this amazing challenge always presented in football that you just can't sleep on anyone and take anything for granted. So a lot of sleepless nights the night before the game, especially earlier in your career, not just because you're scared, it's also because you're excited. You got to think about the NFL almost like in school when you have your final exam and it's worth 95% of your grade. You're like, so why do I go to class every other day when my entire grade is basically about this one exam? Well, in football, it feels that way because you go to practice every single day, work out, lift weights, run, stretch, meetings, everything for 1 3-hour performance on the random Sunday. And it's like, wow, everything that I've done, my sleep, my rest, and my diet, my distractions, everything comes together for 3 hours. And whether you're ready or not, you're here. And you better show up or you are out of luck. So nothing gets your adrenaline going like those 3 hours, man. It's amazing.
If you had to say like one or two coaches, and yeah, nice water bottle. If you had to say one or two coaches and then one or two players that really inspired you or taught you a lot, what would you who would you throw in there?
If you want to start with players, Bruce Smith, obviously. I still talk to him to this day. I call him, we talked yesterday, I call him Pops. He's my football father, as we say. So that's Pops right there, Bruce Smith. Man, Junior Seau, the late great. I learned so much, more so about being a person rather than just being a player. Junior was amazing. His talent level, second to none. Big, fast, strong, quick, everything. He was that. But he had a mindset. The way he approached life was he would walk in like he was the 53rd man on the team. He would walk in like he had the least amount of talent, but he had the most. And he would approach anyone and interact with everyone with that same humble spirit. So I learned, like, no matter how good, how great, how bad it is to just make sure you respect that exchange with others, because Junior taught me that. So it was great to see a superstar be that grounded. And like I said, Bruce taught me the ropes, how to play the game, the subtleties of the game, so many tricks of the trade. In terms of coaches, I really love Wade Phillips. His approach was, we're going to prepare. We're going to prepare. And then we're going to prepare again. And then we're going to go out there and perform. And that's it. Like, no fat, no BS, no me yelling at you because it's Sunday, the camera's on me, the fans are looking at you, and you messed up. So let me overproduce and overcoach and look like I'm all in your face because you fucked up. What? Like, Wade was like, hey, man, come here. You know what to do? Yeah, you do? You sure? Okay, next time go out there and do it. All right, we good? All right, pal, let's go. And I was like, that's all I needed. Like, I didn't need all this. Like, do you understand? No one is rooting harder than me for me. No one is rooting harder for me to succeed than me. So when I see people kind of get irate and kind of belittle you in those moments, it usually makes me think, did they prepare fully for the moment? Or more importantly, are they just producing and showing out for the moment? Or is this really an insecurity on display? Because you don't have to undress me for me to go out there and get my job done. Trust me, we're in the same boat trying to get that done together.
Mm-hmm. You were one of the first pro athletes to publicly become part of the Yang Gang, and coincidentally, you of course graduated from Columbia, and Andrew Yang graduated in Columbia. I'm wondering, how did you first hear about Andrew, and was it possibly related to your time at Columbia?
I didn't know that he went to Columbia until after I fell in love with his politics and the man who he is. But at first, it was just watching random YouTube clips. I kept seeing clips of this guy, Andrew Yang. I'm like, I was like, he caught my attention. I was like, oh, okay, there's a new guy in And then I finally saw one of his long form interviews. It could have been Joe Rogan, Breakfast Club, one of the earlier long form ones. And I'm always first inclined to the person over the politics. Like, I want to know what kind of character I'm dealing with before I even dive into their politics, because you're never going to fully align with anyone's politics, but I can certainly feel the connection to the person and trust in that person. Even if they do something that I don't subscribe to, it's still coming from a great place, a good person. So the way I always looked at politicians was in that scope, and he fit that criteria. On top of being a genius and actually just knowing his politics, expressing them, being articulate, not dodging the question, actually having evidence-based research to support his opinions. He was the only one just wasn't dodging, wasn't being political up there, wasn't trying to do stuff that I can do in my industry, which is talk my way through it, but take you nowhere. I'm like, what the hell? And I kept juxtaposing him against others. You started to contrast him against others, and it really started to shine. But the thing that would occur is the machinery wouldn't give him the proper amount of time to enlighten everyone to that. So if you were keenly aware of it, you saw it every single time. But if you're just tuning in, you're like, oh, he's not saying anything. Maybe he has nothing to say. What else? And then I was like, no, wait, there's more at play here. So he had me hooked pretty early. I kept an open mind, but I also was looking at other candidates with the perspective of what Andrew brought to the table, and I didn't see anyone else that compared.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, I like how you explain that. With me, 6 weeks before I met with him and he rode in my semi, my whole goal for meeting Andrew to meet Andrew was to basically smash on him, because I'm conservative, right? So I was like, this guy is out of his mind, right? And then I download his book, and I'm just like, oh my God, we're screwed without Andrew, right? Like, I did a complete 180. right? he keeps it so real about these are the problems, these are the solutions. We're not doing red or blue filters and like who like who's gonna be upset with this, or how would the Democrats or Republicans view things. Andrew's just so solution oriented, and he doesn't nothing other than the problem and the solution gets in his head, you know. So thanks for actually coming out early, because that it's easy to come out when everybody's coming out. Like, you know, Bernie, a lot of people were coming out for Bernie, a lot of people are coming out for probably Joe now. But you came out way early, and I was just like, oh my God. And I already had loved, you know, what you do on, because I'm a big fan of Speak For Yourself. But when you came out, I was just so incredibly enthused. So thank you for coming out early, because that takes guts. Did you take any flack, or did anybody give you a hard time about becoming Yang Gang, like in your arena, like at the office or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I did. You know, my Twitter feed, people were saying, "What do you know about politics?" Or even if you do know about politics, why him? And I've never even heard of the guy. He has no chance of winning. Blah blah blah. But my grandmother, look, I was raised by some very strong, brutally honest people who always told me, like, count those with you, not those against you. So in any walk of life, when people oppose me, they don't really get too deep into me. I don't internalize their disagreement. I just say, okay, well, I'm gonna continue on this course, and maybe one day you'll join me. If not, I'll see you at the top. Let's do it. Like, congrats. So I never got dissuaded by people who were trying to come at me and try to change my mind. I knew that I felt a responsibility, and it's weird. I've never come out before or publicly supported any candidate before. So some of that was timing, but I felt responsible because right now, especially, a lot of people are confused of the direction of this country and the leadership. And a lot of people, whether you support Trump or not, have questions. So for me, I thought it was a responsibility to say, hey, if I see a candidate that actually is answering the questions, that has actually done the work, and is actually going to be solution-based, I think people need to take notice of him. It wasn't to make anyone vote for him. I'm not in the game for that. This is an awareness conversation first. You make your own decision. That's why you go into the polling booth by yourself. However, before you go into that booth, here's all of the information, here are all the candidates. And I'm glad I did, because the way that it went out and played itself out in the mainstream media, we all seen the numbers in terms of the number of minutes allowed to speak at the debates, etc. He wasn't given a level playing field. So I'm glad guys like me and other people out there were able to support him and try and level that field.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you feel as someone you know who really did truly I think understand, you know, what a game changer Yang would have been as a president for everybody? How did it feel when he dropped out of the race?
Look, I have my math hat somewhere in the house, and Andrew did his math. And one thing I loved about growing up, I was a math major in my mind in grade school, junior high, taking geometry with like the 9th graders, and I'm in the 7th grade, stuff like that, calculus, and I'm the only like 11th grader in there. So I used to always think I was a great mathematician until I got to Columbia and realized, oh, hell no, there's some real geniuses in math. But to that point, math is emotionless. Like, math doesn't give a damn how you feel. Try to budget your own family's household and expenses. It doesn't give a damn what you bought. It doesn't care if you like that toy or like that item. It's still just a number to math. And I think Andrew appropriately just looked at the numbers. He's like, it's always been an uphill climb. Now it's an impossible climb. It's okay. It's okay to take this tap out. We'll come back. You know, we'll all gather our resources, let this play its course, and run it back like they do in sports. We'll run it back.
Yeah, exactly.
As we grow this team. So I think in the back of my mind, I always thought phase one for Andrew Yang being the president of the United States is going to be him taking his lumps in just the service of getting his name out there and fully respected. Could he do that in a year or two with the machinery out there? I didn't think it was doable, but I didn't let that deter me. And I'm glad he didn't let that deter him. But we saw tremendous progress in terms of the respect and understanding of who Andrew Yang is. Now, the second go around, 2024, depends on how this all shakes out, but 2024, he's not this who is Andrew Yang candidate anymore. He's like, yo, Andrew Yang is going to hit the ground noise, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I think I am, Fred is, and everybody here watching is.
Yeah, and you know it's crazy. I feel the same way. Like in my career, going to an Ivy League school, I knew I was going to take a penalty. I was going to have to pay a tax, an athletic tax, if I were going to go to the NFL. No way, coming from Columbia, no matter how well I played, I was ever going to be the number one pick overall. Like, stop it. Like, they're going to look at your film and say, you played against CEOs and accountants and lawyers and executives. Hell no. There was going to be a penalty to pay. But that's okay, because then you get into the NFL and it all resets and you get another opportunity. I feel that same way with Yang. Like, he had to take that penalty of being the obscure candidate no one knew of and just coming out of nowhere. That's fine. You look at him a little lower than you should have. Now, next go around, he's going to be in the league and he's about to tear it up. Watch the next go around.
If I say, like, if Andrew Yang were a stock, he'd be the person that you wish you invested in like 2 years ago. And it's now just getting to the point where you can still put your money in and you're going to really make a lot over the next few years. But you got to get in now. Everybody join the Yang Gang.
Get in now, man. It's so crazy. I'm not starstruck because I'm from LA. Like, I went to school with people who are superstars, you know. I don't care who you name. I'm like, yeah. I got pictures hanging out with them in 98. Yeah, we were before social media. They were crazy, and now they're superstar. All that. But on my phone, I'm not lying. You should hook me up to a heart rate monitor when Andrew Yang calls me. It's it literally his name pops up and it says President of the United States. That's funny. No lie. Every time I get a call from Andrew Yang, I get pumped, and then I keep it quick. And he's like asking questions. And so how you doing? How the kids? He's naming them. And I'm like, okay, Andrew, take care. Like, I'm just trying to get up out of it because I just so enamored by him and his brain, his heart, and what he could bring to the table.
It's funny you mentioned that because I have him saved under Andrew Yang, the greatest effing presidential candidate ever. and I'll send him a text, and there's probably a 3-to-1 text ratio. Like, he's very quick, like he's very emoji heavy, and if I send him 3 texts, he sends me 1 back, and I don't fault him for that. You know, he's a busy guy. He's got tons of stuff he's doing right now. But I've got him saved as the greatest presidential candidate ever myself, actually.
Oh, you got to do like the book, The Secret. You got to think it into reality, project it into reality.
Exactly.
I'm doing that version. Yes. I'm trying to.
I'm gonna have to step up my game because I kind of got the bland, just Andrew Yang. I'm gonna have to come up with something exciting.
That's so old.
I remember Marcellus. I first met you at the December debate watch party in Los Angeles, and I remember I went up to take a picture with you. I was like, "Hey, Marcellus, can I get a picture?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, come on over." And then after I took the picture, I was like, "By the way, I'm Matt from the Zach and Matt show." And I thought it was really funny because you pulled out your phone. You're like, wait a sec, Matt from Zach and Matt show. I'm a huge fan. I got to get a picture with you now. And that was just a really
Hey.
funny experience. Is there like a?
No, we're not skipping past that moment because that moment meant something to me. Because it's funny, when I finally got hip to your podcast, I got hooked on it. And so when I was driving home with my son, he would watch on his TV Peppa Pig or something. So after about the 9,000th episode of Peppa Pig, you're like, I got to listen to something else. So I would listen to you guys even more than I would watch because I was driving. I was like, yes, I've been just sitting there agreeing with you all the time. So when you go to a Andrew Yang rally, I'm like taking pictures with people just because I'm sticking out. They're like, hey, that's a football player in an Andrew Yang rally. So I'm taking picture after picture. And finally we take our picture and I'm just like, oh, okay, another guy who's just, a brother in Yang Gang. I get it. And then you said the name and I looked and then you said, man, I said, wait a minute. So we had to stop the presses right there, brother, because I was a big fan of yours in that moment as well.
Yeah, that's a story that I tell people all the time because it's really funny and I definitely will remember it for a while. But I want to know like is there any experience like in the Yang Gang, like going to an event or a watch party or anything like that sticks out to you? Like a particular experience that was like just even more exciting than just the average one?
Yeah. Respect and shout out to Brian Yang. I've always been there in terms of his support. I think that what really I felt every time going to rally, like as much as I supported Andrew Yang, I could have hid behind my tweets. I didn't have to go physically leave my family driving through traffic for hours, going downtown to meet him, going to homes to meet him. Like the support that I was giving was really a commitment and I wanted to do it. But the biggest takeaway was how he was creating a unified front that was so inviting. Not only inviting in different backgrounds and ethnicities and experiences, but also in our groupthink when we were taught together as a collective, everyone was embracing the thought, even if you didn't fully agree with it. And going back to the show that I'm on right now, Speak For Yourself, that's our spirit. We're not into the debate of yelling and who won that debate and yelling for 15 minutes. LeBron, Jordan. It's like, what do you think? You think LeBron? Say it. You think Jordan? Say it. Back it up and let's move forward to get to an even higher ground, which is togetherness. And I just felt that every time I went to a Yang rally, it was like all these people in here, you wouldn't see this collection of minds, occupations, looks, integrated, not just at the same place, but integrated together as one. So it's something I really look forward to going forward, just being in that same kind of energy. And Yang has that power to bring that out.
Yeah, that's I think you captured it perfectly. Just like there's so much ideological diversity and so many people from so many different backgrounds, and that's like I really like it because it shows that it really isn't like there's like I guess it shows that the movement really is like a genuine movement of people, because if it wasn't, you would have groups of people from different backgrounds that are missing. So I think you hit the nail 100% on the head. One thing I think people are interested in, have you been holding up with the coronavirus pandemic? Like, what's that been like, especially like you do your shows from home now and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely trying times for everyone. But I'll be real, it's different for everyone. Everyone's experiencing this differently based on your circumstances. And to be candid, it's made my job easier. I walk out the backyard. I'm literally in my pool house right now, and this is exactly where I film my show. They made that easier, and I respect Fox for taking care of us and prioritizing our health. I've been thankful and blessed that, it's hit our world, our economy, but still we're getting paid through this pandemic. I just had a 1-month-old daughter named Olivia, our 4th kid, and I'm now like forced by the government, basically paper at home, stay at home orders. Basically, they just told me to hang with your family more. And I'm like, thank you. So, especially at this time. So I understand that there's someone who's going to watch this who is tremendously suffering from it. But the question directed to me, it's really been a lot of silver lining, a lot of blessings in disguise, because no one saw this coming. My kids are all home, and the good thing is they're not at an age. I have a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old, and then the newborn. And then my oldest is 21 in college, so she's with the family in Indiana. But the point is, it's really given us a tremendous amount of time to just focus on the essentials, the most important attributes in life, which is to be together and to love each other through this process. So it's been different, man. I get onto a Zoom call with some friends and family, and it's a whole different animal. So I just hope everyone, I'm the eternal optimist. So sorry, you can throw hell at me and I'm going to try my best to turn the AC on. Like, I'm just that guy. And I think even for this situation, it drives my wife crazy, but I'm the eternal optimist. I'm always looking for the good.
Yeah. And there definitely is like a ton of people out there are struggling. And I think that's like why, you wish it wasn't this way, but maybe as a Yanks supporter, at least I feel this way, there is kind of like a sense of like, I was trying to tell you, like, there was this guy who was running, who's wanted to like, give everybody $1,000 a month, do all this other, mental health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But so like it's good to see, I guess, ideas, especially like universal basic income, moving on a national level, like they've never really have been before. And I think that's a lot to do with the efforts that everybody put in to help Andrew Yang's campaign. But one unfortunate thing, like there's been a few, but one that sticks out for sure is the death rate in the Black community. There's a huge disparity there. It's almost 3 times as high as in other communities. And what do you make of this? And is there anything as a society that you believe we could do to help correct for this? How to change this disparity and close the gap?
Yeah, I guess the theme has been togetherness. So let's talk about the focus on the Black community and the effect of the virus on the Black community. It's twofold. I think that one, in the Black community, intra-community, you have to look at it like a wake-up call. The obesity rate, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, like these things have been known for years in our community to plague us. And I don't know if anything else can wake you up greater than what we're experiencing right now, how it affects us all. And to see that the death rate is inordinate compared to other ethnicities, other races. So when you start to see that, you start to realize that, hey, you need to wake up. It's fashionable at times to celebrate in my community eating soul food and, go to Big Mama's house and all these kind of things that I think we do them in theater, we do them in jest, but in reality, it's not funny. It's not cute. This disease, this virus just attacked those same variables in our community. So we need to pick it up, whatever that may look like. But then also, let's just be real, in terms of our country and its economic structure and the haves and have-nots, it's going to take resources to level that playing field, whether it's through education and some of the things that we have to unlearn. I know growing up, I was told all the time to finish my food. I was like, and then now I'm at a place where I'm like, please don't finish your food. Like leave some smaller portions, things of that nature. So I think that from the outside, it really to level the playing field in terms of resources, education, finances. Like the thing that kills us is invincible. I think a lot of times in this sensational world of media, social media, a lot of times we want to always point out and say, that's what's getting us. That's what's getting us. But it's really the invincible circumstances, the invincible choices we make daily that really come back to bite us. And that's in terms of how we treat ourselves in health, how we, in terms of our living conditions, whether those are the resources or how we use those same resources. All of this, man, it really turned into a big pot of a mess that we need to clean up, because it's a situation that can be fixed. And I hope that we all wake up. I've had a lot of candid group texts with a lot of people, Black people, white people, and things that they don't say publicly that I'm not scared to say, which is, look, we need to do better in terms of taking care of ourselves. I think if there's one alarm that's being sounded by this pandemic, is to turn that focus inward and take care of yourself. Because if you don't, and if you continue to always have to look outward, man, you may be looking for a long time. So there's a myriad of issues and reasons why, but let's just start with the most basic. Let's just take better care of ourselves.
Another unfortunate effect of the coronavirus is the increased Asian American racism toward Asian Americans. And on Monday, you were a part of the We Are All Americans anti-racism campaign. So first of all, thank you. But what really inspired you to be involved in this project, and how did that transpire to reach out? And can you go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, it's like in any situation of tragedy, human behavior, it tends to want to group something up, generalize, blame it, and then distance itself from it so that it can feel better about itself. That's just human psychology 101. So whenever something goes wrong, usually you're going to have a group that's sitting there trying to figure it out so they can group it together and say, that's the problem. And it's not me. So what comes from that also is situations of hatred and bigotry, because once you make that lazy assumption, it's a Chinese virus, or you hear that from our president, anything in that nature, you start to just lump it and group it and then say that's their problem, that's a them problem. And even our country did that. We were like, that's a problem. I remember like in February hearing about the coronavirus, it's a Chinese problem. I'm like, okay, there are airplanes. We're over there to be here and vice versa. And I just don't buy into that. I don't subscribe to any mentality that is saying it's on them. It's on all of us. But yeah, there are levels of responsibility that we all have to make sure we respect. And the level of responsibility when it comes to this virus is it can attack us all. We've seen reports of a 5-year-old kid dying from this, and obviously the elderly heavily impacted. Obviously the Black community heavily impacted, but it could come snipe anyone. And for us to sit there and feel safe and comfortable and distant and say, it's on them, I think that's just doing yourself a disservice to humanity. So I'm not subscribing to that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you have your own charitable organization called Project Transition that provides leadership training to at-risk youth. Can you tell us more about that charity and how people who are watching would be able to get involved?
Yes, you go to marcelluswiley.com and click on the charitable link and then know more information about it. But basically, I tell everyone, I'm a fork in the road kid, man. I was that close to being on the other side, whatever side that is. Obviously, I was blessed to have a family support system that navigated me properly, and I was able to have an identity and chase after my dreams and the courage to do it. But there are so many kids and so many communities that are right there at that same place that I was 30, 40 years ago, that fork in the road. And it's scary. It's scary, the fear of the unknown. What if I don't achieve it? What if I don't succeed? And I'm just trying to encourage all these kids of the power that they possess just by breathing and being on this planet. Like, you don't need anything else. And I think so many times through consumerism or just through how people are marketed, everyone thinks that you need so much to do so much, and you don't. We've all seen it before. Save a penny a day, and in 20 years, you got it. $80,000, crazy stuff like that, right? Well, all I'm trying to say to anybody is just invest in yourself and your dreams every single day. You'll be amazed when you turn out. So Project Transition is there to instill that hope in all.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think definitely a message that we need to send to our youth. And unfortunately, it looks like we're up at the end of our time here. So I just want to thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate, as Fred said, coming out early, your support, getting involved in the We Are All Americans campaign. Just maintaining this community that we've all helped to kind of curate. And thank you to your sister as well. She was instrumental in getting this set up.
I appreciate you guys, and keep going the great work you're doing. Every grain of sand that you pour on the game tile, man, is growing it. It's growing it, brother. So let's keep plugging. I love it.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Man. We'll catch up soon. I'm gonna jump on the next one, brother.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, man. All right, Fred.
Take care.
Take care.
All right,
guys.
take care. Okay. Yang Wiley 2024.
All right, so that was Marcellus Wiley, and we also had Fred. Everybody, if this was our first week of TMS, the first week of the match show, I hope everybody did enjoy. We had 3 episodes this week. We of course had Andrew Yang on Monday, Cameron Caskey on Wednesday, and then Marcellus Wiley was kind enough to come on today. I hope all of you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like the video, because we're going to be back next week, better than ever. We're going to have David Kim come on either on Monday or Wednesday. We're still looking into that, and we're going to have 2 more awesome guests for you guys next week. And then I don't know. I'm thinking I kind of want to do a live stream tomorrow night, like a live stream where we just like sit and talk and like answer questions and talk politics. If that's something you'd be interested in, feel free to let me know down in the chat. But other than that, thank you, Justin, for the $2 donation to the stream. Really appreciate you, Justin. And thanks for everyone who came in and watched today. Thank you, Karen, who became a member the other day. Appreciate you. John said he loved it. Mindful Skeptics podcast, who just released the Trickle Up, said share this video everywhere. I agree. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. We're going to be back better than ever next week. And I might stream tomorrow night. So if you would like to see that, feel free to tune in. Take care, everybody. Happy Friday. Stay safe and have a good weekend.